knee moving, what is that? That's your hip moving in which plane? Transverse plane. So is it safe for your knee to actually let your hip move with it in the transverse plane?
Yes.
Absolutely it is, and that's what we want. That's why those of y'all that have had Miss Nelson, she is so good at teaching so many ways that we need to teach athletes to plant safely and move to take care of the knee. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Okay, so what is this? What is this?
Frontal.
What is this?
Transverse.
Okay, so here's this. What is this?
Frontal. Sagittal. Transverse. Sagittal. Transverse.
Oh, it's still transverse.
It's still transverse. Why would it be transverse this way and not transverse this way?
Reset.
Okay, here we go. You ready again?
Transverse. Frontal. Sagittal. Sagittal. Transverse. Frontal.
Nice. Have a seat. Very good. Let's stop that and start again right there, Michaela.
I did.
Okay, perfect. All right, so let me tell you why I love thinking about the planes. Because whenever I program a workout, I all of a sudden want to ensure that my athletes, whether they are 12 or they are 70, my athletes, I want to be sure that they have moved in every single plane. Let me talk about efficiency. Which one's the most efficient one to move in? Sagittal. Which one's the most inefficient to move in? You want to get extra points with me? I want to see you walking down the hall like this. Okay? So think about efficiency and inefficiency of movement. The body's going to always take a more efficient route, but we occasionally want to. You guys, I have people, I'm telling you, I have people do stuff with lateral squats all the time. They are so good for overall hip mobility. Now, of all the planes, which one tends to be, which one of the plane motions tends to put you in a potential for more damage? Transverse, why? Because you're rotating. And so here's the whole thing. You even take a shoulder with the rotator cuff unit, that's a lot trickier group right there. You think about the hip, and then when you think about the spine. You guys think about it right here. Let's just say we look at Shakespeare, and if we were to take him and rotate him without decompressing him, remember the analogy of cookie on cookie? Okay, we would have cookies, crushed cookies. Now, here's what I also tell people is, it's up to us to keep our spine as decompressed as possible. Because, guys, what's pushing down on us all the time? Gravity is pushing down on us. It's up to us to keep that decompression there. And we know that the more decompressed we can keep our spine, the more efficient and effective we can be throughout our lifetime. And whether you do that through a yoga practice where you're doing some inversion, or whether you're just stabilizing your torso. Okay? Right now I want you to put your hands on your rib cage. And it's one of my favorite things. Was anybody in Nelson's class yesterday with me? I got to go to Nelson's class. It was great. Nelson and I are going to co-teach a class. Think how fun that would be. Okay? I want you to think about your rib cage from now on. And I want you to think about this. Float your rib cage. Just float it. Now engage your abdominal wall. Now don't, okay, just engage it and then leave it there. Float your cage, float your cage, float your cage, float your cage. You just decompressed your spine. Float your rib cage as much as you can. It automatically changes your posture. Float your cage, float your cage. Go against gravity, float your cage. And you guys, you can do that even when you think about being in a squat. Think about sitting deep, but lifting through your cage. I mean, that really makes a difference on how you're preventing that torque and that compression on your discs. Okay, so you understand the planes? Now, for your viewing pleasure, if you're still struggling with the planes, on page 26 and 27, we have the lovely Charlton model here, wearing her purple suit, ready to show us. Remember when we talk about movement axes like this, we're always talking about the movement from the joint, okay? If you'll remember, what kind of joint were the elbow and the knee? Uniaxial. What did we talk about the wrist and the ankles being? biaxial, and then the hips, very nice. Okay, but all of those together make up synovial joints. Remember that was on that first game day. Hey, we got game day a week from today. I'm fired up. Okay, so now a few things, and we need to jump back a little bit one page to this, down in the bottom right-hand corner of page 25. And this is when we start to see some basic definitions of how we talk about strength and power. Okay, the very first one I want you to know is force equals mass times acceleration. F equals ma. Now, the only way to generate more force is to take more mass and move it fast. Okay? That's how, when we think about force, more mass, moving it fast. More mass, moving it fast. And the faster that we can have someone accelerate more of their mass, the more force potential that person can generate. And listen, what kind of people are you?
Smart people.
Okay. In reality, if you have more mass and you have developed so much mass that you lose the ability to accelerate it faster, have you actually increased or decreased force production? You have decreased force production. Yes, just like I tell you to be specific, to be terrific, you must be specific. You have to pay attention to this. So if you're working with an athlete that is all of a sudden doing so much muscle hypertrophy that they're getting slower, you just jacked up the force. May the force not be with you anymore. Okay? You have messed up the laws of the universe. Because there is this sweet spot where you're thinking about the optimal mass of the athlete and the highest ability to accelerate that. And that's what we want. Yes, we want that, again, from our 12-year-old or even from a 3-year-old up to a 90-year-old. We want people to be able to generate force. Because as long as you can generate force, you're tapping into your type 2 muscle fibers, and remember, are those the ones that you lose first as you age? Yes or no? Yes. So we want to keep those nice and checked. What?
Is there a difference between force and power? Generating force and power?
Good segue, Colton. Okay, that was awesome. So now, here's what we have to understand. When we start to talk about work and we start to talk about power. Now, work, this is in the left-hand column of page 20, okay? Work is force times distance. Okay, so here's the reason I have to do them in this order, because to determine my overall workload, I first have to be able to solve for force. Because now I have force being part of the equation. So here's what I know. My athlete can actually, and you guys, it's kind of weird to think about work being a definition, okay? It is the force exerted on an object and the distance the object is moved. Okay, so here's the whole thing. Let's think about, Colton has already shared with us that he's a hammer thrower, okay? So whenever we think about terms of work, when it relates to Colton specifically, let's just talk about this. What kind of people are you?
Smart people.
Let's put in some bad numbers first. Okay? Because this will never happen. Okay. Let's say for some reason Colton were to carry more body mass than he needed to. Okay? So all of a sudden, if his mass went up that made his ability to accelerate slow down, what did I just do to his force production? Decreased it. Now, here's what's interesting. If I now take this new number and plug it into this formula, there's no way that this new level of force is going to be able to withstand this distance, so therefore, too much mass decreases the amount of work. This is such a, people, and you don't think about this, but you guys, the entire training protocol that you develop for this athlete, you somehow think that you're smart enough to outsmart Newton's laws. You're not. I tell you you're smart people all the time, but you're not that smart. Okay? You guys, you cannot change these. These have been proven. So whenever you start to see numbers change with an athlete, you might go, oh my gosh. I built a program for you to where you're delivering less force because you have more mass. Ooh. So is bigger always better?